I need some traction. You need some traction.
Hey everybody, Lloyd Lobo here, co-founder at Boast AI and Traction Conf. Super stoked for this session, and Jake has a special name. I gave him the Godfather of Sales, and
I still don't live that down, dude, because it like you put that video up on YouTube, and now it's been watched like 1,000 times, and so it's like the first thing that will come up, and so people will be like, "Oh, this guy refers to himself as the Godfather of Sales." I'm like, no, Lloyd did that. And I was iterating it, but the way Lloyd edited it, it looked like I'm now referring to myself as the Godfather.
It's really funny. So what I'll do is in the title tag for this video recording, I'm gonna put modern outbound playbook with Godfather of Sales. And so when you Google search Godfather of Sales, you should show up.
I love that.
Super excited to have Jake and Molly here from Skaled Consulting to give us 5 exciting plays that will help you drive more leads. Because what I've been seeing is after a while, like a tactic gets really popular, and then it goes around, and then you keep getting the same kind of messaging, the same kind of sequences, and the same emails, right, over and over again, and people are outreaching to you the same way, and then quickly a creative tactic turns into spam, and then your open rates and reply rates and everything goes down. So Jake and Molly are going to share 5 new ways and plays that will help you drive more prospects and leads. So without further ado, Jake and Molly, take it away.
Love it. Love it. Well, what's up, everybody? I'm very excited about the conversation for today. My good friend Molly Mitchell is joining me. Molly is our head of, I mean, what's the title now? So like, what's the technical title?
Business Implementation Manager.
Business, yeah, but you do more than that. That makes it sound like very stiff. You do a lot more than that. Molly has an opportunity. We work with many companies on their sales engagement plays and implementation. So Molly works, with outreach and some of the other big players, primarily outreach. We're doing hundreds of implementations. So, we get a chance to see a lot of plays, and Molly in particular gets a chance to see a lot of these very firsthand and a lot of what's working and what's not working. And so, I wanted us to kind of share some of the knowledge and the things that we're seeing in the market. And definitely, like Lloyd said, start dropping your questions in the Q&A. We'll try to answer them live, as we kind of are going through it. What's up, David? David says, I see a lot of your posts on LinkedIn. You share great stuff. David, thank you. It's very kind of you. So make sure to follow Molly too. If you're not following Molly, let's make sure we drop that link in their team. Follow Molly. She does her sales tech talks every week and dropping just some amazing videos, both tactically and entertainment live. And follow Molly on TikTok too. She makes some amazing.
Recently gone viral on TikTok. Thank you.
Recently gone viral on TikTok. Love this one. So one of the first questions is about basically Castle, which is Canada's spam laws. So the cool part is I think we'll try to address for all my Canadian friends up there. What's up, all my friends north of the border? We'll try to address some of this stuff for you all as well. And like Lloyd said, I'm really excited for this. I think he hit it on the head, and Molly, you can talk about it, that right now Outbound is evolving. And I think it's really turning into a mix of the people, the companies and the individuals that are successful are people that are getting outside the box. It's not that they're necessarily always using brand new mediums, but they're finding and reinventing new ways to use calls and finding and reinventing new ways to use emails and LinkedIn, et cetera. And I think to Lloyd's point too, it's not that anything I think we'll talk about today is going to be like, I think you definitely are going to learn a lot of like, oh, I didn't even know that was possible. But I also think it all should be very applicable and easy to integrate into your day-to-day. And that's really kind of our goal here. So if you have a questions here, we got a good question here from Priscilla around, not the right person. I'm running into a meeting. So we'll try to cover a lot of this stuff as we dive in. And Molly, I'll let you kind of kick us off here if we want to get started talking about targeting. And we're going to talk about, you know, targeting in particular. This is like, you know, when it comes to being really good at outbound, and Molly, this is one of the things that I see is like, it's actually the like really boring stuff like up front and the time that you invest up front that makes like such a big difference. And how do you see that? Like, how do you see that play out when it comes to targeting and tiering? And, you know, you can kind of walk through a few of these slides, but I'd love to see like, you know, when you're, cause you're working with so many clients at any given time, you know, how important is this piece of it? Because I think everyone's looking for the magic bullet on the other end, which is like the right thing to say and how to do it. But how important is this and where does this usually stack up?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I see happen when you're trying to get your BDRs, your SDRs to prospect, it's such a general term that you just expect the SDR to know where to go or know what websites to be looking for. So having a really kind of targeted area that you want to dive into from a prospecting perspective. For example, of course, LinkedIn, one of the best places to get some targeting level information, our company websites, different data validation tools, all of these things need to be a part of the prospecting process. So you're not going in so blindly to your first message when reaching out.
Yeah. And I think what you were getting at too, is that just making sure that you're taking the time to put in a little bit of work. You know, for me, like I remember when I started at, you know, Career Builder, this is back in the day, you know, and I had to do my own closing and setting my own appointments. You know, I got a thick binder of like all the industry insights, trends in the industry, what people are going through. And I feel like with a lot of, you know, sales development teams and teams that are doing outbound, step one is if you don't know what a job does, what does a director of operations even do in the industry you sell into? And if you don't know how a company makes money, it's really tough to help somebody. And I feel like so often, again, we're always so worried about the perfect email template or the perfect cold call. But the reality is, if you don't know your buyer persona inside and out, it's never going to happen for you, right? You're never going to.
The messaging will never come together. It never will. So that's exactly right. And that kind of plays into what are you looking for when you're going to these types of areas, these websites, these different levels of information. You want to find anything that is aligning directly to your value prop, any type of recent job changes, personalized information, case studies, and a lot more. So all of those types of things can really help guide your messaging as you're trying to personalize for that individual. Now, tiering, oh, go ahead.
No, hop in, get involved. Because I think that this is important too, like, because, and I'll just tell you, like, my take is like, I think a lot of people, they do what I call one size fits all prospecting, meaning like I'm an SDR. Because here's the thing too, there's a lot of you that are SDRs. We've got like 150 people now, which is awesome. Lloyd, we didn't talk about cursing in advance, so I'll try to keep it like PG-13.
We'll see.
But yeah, exactly. Molly knows. But this is such a critical point that we're going to walk in. Stop having one play, meaning you will never be successful if all you're only doing like super custom stuff to a wide swath, or you're doing send all, or you're doing a hybrid. That the most successful reps and companies deploy a multi-tier strategy. And Molly will walk you through what that means, but I want all of you to think about that. Think about this. You have your true ICP. I want to get specific. Then I've got those, you know, maybe that I've got some intent data. Maybe I made an investment, you know, and I guess ZoomInfo owns every sales tech now. They just bought EverString. So those are the people I'm going to go above and beyond. This tier, I'm going to do this type of customization. This tier, this type. And I feel like too many SDRs, that's not how they're running their book. They're running their book like, I've got 3 sequences. It doesn't matter what the persona is or the tiers. I'm just hammering these 3 sequences. Versus you are running a business. Every single one of you, if you are an SDR, you need to be playing the short game, the mid game, and the long game. Because I'm trying to do, like, I'm spending 20 minutes of my time today to make sure I hit my number in February. And I'm spending, you know, maybe 15 minutes of my week trying to make sure I hit my number in June. And too many SDRs, again, they're so focused on right now. And that's why you're stuck in this rut of always having to hustle and grind at the end of the month, because you're not making sure that you're using these different sequences to then play the long game and to make sure you're nurturing people. That's why LinkedIn's so important. We'll talk about LinkedIn. So what are some ideas of tiers? I love this breakdown. Walk through like how people are using this breakdown.
So I love talking about tiering out sequencing, because this is the moment during implementation that I see light bulbs go off for how these sequences are going to be segmented. So like Jake's saying, not every sequence is created the same. Not every play is created the same. Not every play is built for certain personas. So someone that is your cream of the crop, the person you want to put all of the bells and whistles into, you're going to have a more intricate play versus someone that might be a potential referral or a champion. You'd have a more of a, tier 3 type of approach with more automation and something that's really just running in the background, but you're still getting your messaging out there, you're building brand awareness, and you're, always going for the ask. And that's really what the tiering is going to do, because the biggest thing you want to avoid is bogging reps down with too many tasks. We talk about activity and tasks, and there has to be a manageable level. I don't know if there's a silver bullet magic number. This is how many activities every rep needs to complete per day to be a successful SDR. But it really plays a big part to make sure that the tasks you are getting created are for those top tiered prospects. So you're spending your time on the right types of prospects versus some that, again, might be more of a second tier type of connection. This, Jake, I love. I feel like you've talked about this a lot during this pandemic that we're still living in today. Can you just talk a little bit about how we can look at the different industries and how they're being affected today, how that plays a role in our plays?
Yeah, and I think this goes back to what I was preaching about earlier, which is that each sequence should be based on, again, your industries. That, like, let's say if you're a rep or you're a company and you sell into multiple verticals, okay? By the way, and if you want to know what's happening in industry, it's called Google, Google, okay? And so you just type in the industry name, and then all this information pops up on your computer. And I feel like so many people, they try to treat every industry the same. And again, it goes back to that tiering, right? So going back to Molly's tiers, if it's there are so many industries right now that are crushing it, and other industries that are really, really struggling. So just, just to kind of build on what you said, it's just make sure that you're tiering out based on the industry too. And that's where the tiering can come. And, as you're building out, it's persona based and industry / like ICP based. Right. And so really just think about that, because even within a company, guess what? Maybe one group might be being more fiscally conservative, but another group might not be. Maybe their HR and finance teams right now, are in conservative mode, but sales and marketing is in growth mode. It could be, right? And so I think a lot of people just need to make sure that, take this into account when you're building those tiers, for sure.
And now the channels. Before we dive into this, channels kind of one by one, how often are you seeing people still running sequences of call, email, call, email, call, email, call, email?
It's probably the most common. I'd say 75% of sequences are 90% call, email, maybe more. I mean, you probably see more than I do. What do you see? What do you see whenever we're taking over for a client?
So see, the best part about the role I get to play is I get to make people use the channels into the sequences that they should be. But I see so many people starting from a place of relying on email and phone call. And while those channels are still extremely important and a part of the plays, they're not the end all be all. And this is where some creativity and kind of the modern-esque starts to play a role in what this is really going to look like. The biggest commonality that we're going to see through all of the plays once we get there is LinkedIn. And Jake, as the godfather of sales, I'd say more the godfather of godfather of LinkedIn. But what do you say to people that say, my buyers aren't on LinkedIn today? It's not worth it.
Here's the thing. Maybe they're not. I don't know. But go do an audit. What we do with a lot of our clients is, we'll go and even when we're building out sequences, is what we'll do is we'll basically, you can always front load it with LinkedIn. And then guess what? If the people aren't there, skip ahead, right? Like the key is, I want you all to just think about this, that even if it's 15% or 20% of your buyers, that's still 15 to 20% of people, which is 1 in 5, right? Which is a pretty low, rate, that you could connect with, that you could interact with their content. And I think what you'll see with a lot of people is that although they're not posting, click on their activity. And a lot of the people you think aren't active on LinkedIn are actually just lurkers. They like to like things, they like to comment on things, but they don't post. And that's most people on LinkedIn. I think it's like less than 3% of people post consistently. So that to me, I think would be a big thing. Is like, just do the audit for yourself. And guess what? If they're on TikTok, then your ass better start dancing, right? If they're on Instagram, then I want to start to see some selfie. Like the key is, it's all about being where your buyers are. It doesn't matter where it is. It's where do your buy? If you sell into tech, maybe I'm on Stack Overflow or Git, right? Or Reddit. Like the key is all the things we're talking about, although LinkedIn is the vehicle we'll talk about now, it's the same concept no matter what the platform is. That you as a buyer here have to be top of mind of where your buyers are. And so do your audit. One, I think you'll find that a lot more are somewhat active on LinkedIn than you think. And I think two, and if they truly aren't, then you've got to get creative. Or maybe it's an opportunity for you to create the community. Let's say you sell oil and gas insulation. I don't know, right? We actually have a client and that's what they do. But, I bet oilandgasinsulation.com is not taken, or something like that. Like, I don't know, maybe it is. But I think the key is just like, I think what brands have an opportunity for all my leaders out there is I think brands have a big opportunity to own communities as well too, if they're not there. And try to curate their own communities. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Absolutely. So diving into the channels themselves, kind of skip ahead to breaking them down one by one. And again, some of this stuff might not be new to you all, but you would be surprised. You might want to take an audit of your current emails. If your reply rates are anything below 5%, you're going to want to kind of rework the content and really see what's missing. One of the biggest things that I'm seeing today from emails, kind of key takeaways: one, the shorter the better. Short and sweet and to the point are the types of emails that are getting responses. And two, making sure that you're bringing value and avoiding any type of repetitiveness. I've seen it happen so many times that folks will send out the first email as a step number 1, and that same email template is sent as step number 4. It's like, if they didn't respond to you the first time, they're not going to respond to you again. So making sure that you're bringing different value from an email perspective throughout your messaging is super, super important. And all of this comes from the pre-work that you've done, right? You know what this buyer is concerned about. You know what they're looking for. So when you're crafting up and thinking about the value that your software, that your company, whatever you're selling is bringing, it should become a pretty, seamless experience on the emailing front. But I can't emphasize enough, the shorter, the better. And if your email is really long, I look at that as a great thing. That means that you've got the ability to break that out into 2 separate messages because you've got a lot of great content there. It doesn't need to go to waste, but no one reads an essay anymore. No one's going to read, a huge email that is just fully text-based. So really need to make sure and be mindful of the length there. Cold calling is not dead, everyone. It is still a very viable channel. Jake, when's the last time you picked up a call from an SDR on the phone?
Yesterday.
There you go.
Yesterday, a guy cold called me out of the blue, and he again, it was some opening. Oh, I think we're both connected to James Winfrey. I'm like, I've got a lot of connections, man. And then I went on LinkedIn and I was like, oh yeah. Okay. I know who that, I know who that is, but, and let me tell you why. I think what people don't realize is, look, one, I think a lot of people are like, well, people don't answer as much. And like, that's not that it's necessarily not true, but people didn't answer before either. Guys, like in 2009 and 2010 and 11 and 12, guess what? Not very many people picked up their phone for a number they didn't know then either. Like, it's really not that different. And if anything, like I said, I probably get, I'm just trying to guess, compared to 3 years ago, I would guess I get at least 50% less cold calls. So, and I would guess I probably only get a few a week versus emails I probably get that don't get caught by spam, tens a week. And so for me, and some of the plays, I know we're going to talk about it, but some of the plays, when I talk to other SDR leaders and forward thinking sales leaders, a lot of the plays they're using is like a combination of LinkedIn and a call. Because you think about it, it's like, I see something on LinkedIn, Molly posts, I connect with her on LinkedIn, I like or comment on one of her posts as a step one in my sequence. Then I wait 3 days. Then I look and see if she posts again. Then maybe I cold call her. Hey, Molly, you've popped up in my feed a couple of times. I saw you put out this and then this, right? And again, there's a human voice behind it, right? And so I feel like cold calling, especially in this era where we're all kind of sitting in our homes, people are more open to having a little random conversation here or there to like break up the old day to day, so I 100%, am looking forward to, I'm looking forward to seeing people get back to the phones. But I think the reason, look, let's be honest, what's the real reason people don't cold call? What is it, Molly? What's the real reason people don't cold call?
Well, probably anxiety of talking to somebody on the phone. I know a lot of people fear. Yep. Or not having a phone number. That's also very
exactly
fear of rejection. Yep. Fear.
Yep. Siobhan. Yep. Said it exactly. Fear of rejection. Let's be honest. That's why you want cold calling to be dead. If it's dead, it means that you shouldn't do it. Right? If you're like, oh, no, it sucks. My hit rate's real low. What's your email hit rate, by the way? How many people responding to those old emails? Like, oh, not very many. Shocking. So I think the key is just think of cold calling as another arrow in your quiver. And one attitude I always had, Molly, whenever I was like really early in my career, is like, all I care about is winning. I don't care what method works. If I got to show up at their house, if that's the only way, I guess that's what you have to do. Leave cookies for them or something. Like if I've got to make a cold call, if I've got to make a video, if I've got to make a TikTok, I don't care. Why do any of you care? Do any of you really? Why? Isn't it about booking meetings? Isn't it about engaging with your audience? I think that's what you have to look at. And if we're sitting here, guys, if cold calls didn't work, we would tell you they suck. Right? Like I don't get paid by AT&T. Molly doesn't get paid by Verizon. Like we don't give a shit if you make cold calls or not. We're telling you this because it works. And what we're seeing is it's not the cold call on its own. It's the combo. It's the coming together of these things where people are doing a little LinkedIn, boom, then they come over the top of the call. Or they do an email that's customized, double tap with a call that talks about something that they saw that was custom. Because again, I can tell you the quality of cold calls and the quality of the personalization of emails right now is so low that if you just do this much customization, you'll stand out immediately.
Yep. My thing when I was an SDR, why I was not afraid of cold calling was because even if I'm getting a no, I want some type of answer. The no response, leaving you on red, like that's
fine.
Where, SDRs need to realize like it's better to get a no than get no response at all. And when the phone is one of the best ways to get that response, whether it is positive or negative. Oops.
Yeah. And real quick, there's one more thing I do want to mention. Let me ask you this too. If you are an SDR and you want to be into sales, how the hell are you going to be in sales if you don't know how to talk to people on the phone?
Yeah.
Huh? How are you going to possibly be in sales if you don't know how to have a conversation or to build rapport with someone over the phone? You're not going to be any good. So think of this as practice. This is practice for being in sales. If I was an SDR right now, and Molly, I've said this before, if you're a leader, I apologize in advance for making this suggestion. If I was an SDR right now, I would be selling. I would be cold calling and being like, hey, Molly, can I tell you a little bit about what we do? I'd start to practice. Your boss isn't there. He's not breathing down your neck right now, right? Start to practice. You know, like that's what I would do. I would be closing deals and like handing them off to AEs because you don't know what I'm doing. So anyway, there's for my SDRs. Hopefully I got you.
There you go.
You know. All right, we got a question here. I'm gonna toss a question to you before we go into video and LinkedIn. Casey Monroe, what's up, Casey? Your thoughts on the bump email, bringing this to the top, etc.
Okay, so
the old bump. Oh, just bumping this up to the top for you.
I love this question because it's something that's super relevant when you're, in the tactical part of building your sequences and what that looks like. I'm here to tell you that the message of, hey, I just want to bump this to the top of your email is no longer effective. What you should be doing in your bump up email, I think the tactic is still very key, but your messaging needs to reference something from your previously sent email. Hi, I want to reiterate my X, Y, and Z value prop and see if that is something that resonates with you. Not, hey, your email got lost. My email got lost in your inbox. It's no, I actually want to follow up again because I think that what I'm trying to sell to you is actually very important and could be a huge game changer. So bump up emails, they're still amazing, but put some actual messaging into it and not just saying, hey, me again.
Yeah.
Gotta come up with something
touching
else.
base, catching up. Yeah. So just so you know, that's it. Okay. If your email says touching base, catching up, what's the other one? There's touching base, catching up, and
bumping up to the top of your inbox.
Bumping up to the top, but there's catching up. What else do people? They keep
checking
in touch.
Yes,
checking
Marty.
in. Oh,
yep.
Checking in. Guys, what? Yeah, checking. Marty knew it. Marty nailed it. Like, guys, stop checking in. What are you checking in on? Stop, I just want to do this. And the other thing is, don't take it personally. Look, again, I'm a CEO of a small company, okay? We've got 30-something people, all right, that email me regularly. I get a lot of email. And I'm just telling you that, like, if I don't answer your first or second email, it's not personal. So that's why I hate the breakup email. I feel like the breakup email is played out.
Yep.
Saw this guy singing Adele into a phone on a vidyard. I'm like, dude, this is some cheesy ass shit.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, why are you like, dude, no, stop it. Like, add value. If I'm an if you want a meeting with an executive, add value. I love that advice. If you're going to use the bump up or the check-in, reiterate the value or bring me something new, right?
Yep.
That is what's up. Matt, I'm glad you love the candor.
Amazing. Now, next up, a play that we're, or a channel, I should say, that we're obviously emphasizing a ton is LinkedIn and what that looks like, what that means. There's tons of different ways that we're going to talk about LinkedIn, but first, what to follow on LinkedIn. I think, Jake, you were the first person that actually ever gave me this advice when I started at Skaled, was following hashtags on LinkedIn. Well, I don't know why I never thought of that as being like a great option, but it is. And can you just talk a little bit more about what types of things on LinkedIn you should be following and kind of looking for?
Yeah, because so here's the thing about hashtags on LinkedIn is that nobody really binges on hashtags on LinkedIn because there's no trending. LinkedIn has, like, the reason hashtags aren't as interesting on LinkedIn is there's no trending, right? So people don't go and binge. But if you're in sales, like, we've got a rep, shout out to my man, Matt Cross. He's one of our clients. His company is Verint. And Matt, what Matt's play is every morning, he sells into customer success teams, right? So what does Matt, what hashtag do you think Matt searches for every morning? Hashtag customer success. And then he'll look through and see, hey, are there any, and what are the type of people you think post hashtag customer success? Customer success leaders, right? And so the following of hashtags, candidly, it's not really for content discovery. People don't search it, but it's great for sales. He does that every morning. And he's got 2 or 3 little hashtags he follows. He goes in every morning, sees if anybody posted anything. Boom. That's the play. Boom.
I'm answering a question live here from Steven. But I love this question. To go back to cold calling really quick. When cold calling, they pick up the phone. What's the first line? My answer is, I want to know your answer.
No, you go. You know, I want to hear yours first.
Mine's Jake. It's Molly. How you been? How have you been?
How have you been?
How have you been?
How have you been? See, Molly's got a very friendly tone, right? So for me, I'll tell you, I did a video about this a few weeks ago, or last week. My wife got cold called, and she told me about it. And the guy sent her. My wife got cold called. It was so bad. The guy literally sent a follow. But maybe this was like a shtick of his, but he sent a follow-up email being like, "I'm sorry that call was so bad."
Oh.
And the very first line to use is "now a good time." I answered the phone, mother. Like, why are you asking? If it was not a good time, I wouldn't answer the phone. So stop asking, is now a good time? Ugh. I'll tell you if it's not a good time, right? For me, my opening line is the same it's always been. And I'll tell you this works. I've done it tens of thousands of times. Hey, Molly, this is Jake Dunlap. I've talked to a few different people at xyz.com. I've been bounced around. Again, why do I do this? People like to help. We like to help. I've been bounced around. Molly, do you handle technology implementations at Skaled? Yeah, I handle a lot of this. Oh, okay, great. So I work with a lot of implementation managers, and I know that right now, that keeping track of the clients and where you're at can be a massive issue. Is that something that you all are thinking about right now? Is that top of mind about, client management, et cetera? No, it's not. Okay, great. Awesome. So it sounds like you guys are doing a great job. The other thing that implementation managers are thinking about is this, because guess what? I know what the pains are. And I start with the 80%, and then I go to the 20% pain. And then as soon as she says yes, boom, then I go for the meeting. Great. Awesome. So a little bit about what we do, blah, blah, blah. And so look, let's do this. Let's set up again, the other thing in a cold call, listen, I don't say it would be great. You don't say should, could, would, can. You assume it. She told me she's the right person. She told me that she has a problem. I believe in the product that I sell. Therefore, I don't ask her permission to set the meeting up. I go for the meeting, right? So that's it. Brian Tracy called it yes, yes, close. So that's the cold call opener. I've talked to a few different people. Do you handle this thing? Yes or no? Doesn't really matter. No? Great. Who on your team handles that? Blah. Okay, that's it. I love cold calls. I get really excited just think.
I know.
Cold calls.
I know. We should do a whole session on just that. We could talk about cold calling forever. But back to LinkedIn and why it's so important. Would also love to know everyone that's on the line who's a Sales Navigator user, because these are the pieces that you'll definitely want to perk up and listen in on. So I love this. I heard this from someone that works at LinkedIn. But almost 90% of Sales Navigator users don't go past just the general search bar when they're using the tool. So we're going to talk about this a lot when we get into the plays, but we're creating different lists within Sales Navigator. And Jake, what are your top tips for when you're creating a list in Sales Navigator?
Oh, well, I mean, Sales Navigator is the one tool. There's no doubt. This is for all my reps out there. I would easily, if I was a rep, pay the money myself. Like, it is such a no-brainer. I don't care if my boss won't pay for it. I'll pay for it because it's going to make my life easier, and then I'll make that money up in commission. Not enough salespeople think like that. They think like, oh, well, my company didn't buy it for me. Go buy it for yourself, right? There's so much sales tech right now. I'd be easily coming out of pocket $200+ a month because I know it's going to make me $2,000. And I think a lot of reps, like Sales Nav to me is one of those tools. So it's interesting. Like I don't think there's a lot with the list building, about company size, industry, job titles. I'll tell you that the key is connect with people. That by building a list in Sales Navigator, I've done this, as you can tell, I can connect with 82 people in 12 minutes. 12 minutes, right? So therefore, a lot of you, the reason you're not successful on LinkedIn is your network is too small. You're speaking in a forest. There's no humans. So step one for a lot of you, you've got to grow your network. And to me, that's step one about list building is that. Then once you get into the list building, there's a few key areas. One, follows my company. It's a tab. My friends, if you can't set a meeting with someone who follows your company, you suck. If these people follow your company on LinkedIn and you can't set a meeting, hang them up. Like, these people are already following your company, and not a lot of people follow companies. So that's the very first tab you go to on Sales Nav, follows my company, right? And second tab, change jobs in the last 90 days. Guy, like, every executive, nobody is hired at a decision maker level and said, you know what, Tim, just keep the status quo. You know, like, we hired you, but just keep things the same. No, whenever you get hired into a new role, if someone's new in their first 30, 60, 90, that means they're looking to do things different. They were brought in to make change. Boom, I love that. And then obviously there's the killer one, which is posted in the last 30 days. But how I would use that in the day-to-day is if you just go to your home page on Sales Nav, you can just do a sort by lead shares. And so then every morning you can go and say who posted, and then you go and you interact, comment, etc. So that's my thing. Connect with people, follows your company, change jobs in the last 90 days, and posted in the last 30.
Exactly. And another really big thing when you think about LinkedIn is don't be afraid to engage. When you are engaging with your potential prospects on LinkedIn, like liking their comments, commenting on their posts, that really can go a long way. And we're going to see all of that once we get into the plays here in a bit. And then from an operationally speaking mind, that's where I feel like my brain always goes to when I think about these types of things too, is when you're utilizing Sales Navigator and Salesforce, those two tools integrate, as does Sales Navigator, directly into your sales engagement platform, like an Outreach. So it can really kind of help you create that, full tech stack sync harmony, because they're all working together and can really have a nice flow from a prospecting standpoint when used together. Excellent. Last channel, one that we like to talk a lot about too, is video. The biggest thing I like to preface when I think about video is, I don't know when the narrative happened that only SDRs are the ones that should be using videos in their plays. There's a use case for every single type of sales rep, customer success manager, no matter what part of the funnel you're at. Video can be such a huge game changer. And there was actually one question in the Q&A I was waiting until we got to this part to answer, is how do you show value for your tech to buyers that are pretty new to technology and are used to their manual processes? Showing something through video of how your technology works or what their technology could potentially, bring to that customer is exactly a great use case for utilizing video there. If you can show visually, that's one of the biggest things that you can start to make from a differentiator standpoint. There was another question too. How long should your videos be, and what type of agenda should you be using in your video without sounding too salesy? Jake, that's a good question for you. What do you think? How do you talk in your video without sounding too salesy?
Yeah, I mean, again, like maybe I'll sound like a broken record. Whenever, I'm thinking about video, I'm thinking about personal. Think about as if I was talking to this person like they're in front of me. Like, what would I do to make sure I was engaged? I'm capturing this person's attention, etc. So, I think 30 to 45 seconds max, and start with your best stuff. Start with hey, Molly, this is Jake Dunlap. Just wanted to let you know, I had a chance to take a look at a few of your posts on LinkedIn. I also took a look at what Skaled has posted over the last week. There were two big things that stood out to me. One was you did this, and two is that you did this. Based on that, and I'm going to send a little note after this too, there could be some interesting ways that we might be able to help with that initiative in particular. At a high level, we do XYZ, like one quick thing. And let me know if it's okay. I'll send you some additional details on what we do around this, and we can see if it makes sense to connect. Again, John, I'm really looking forward to it. I love following your content. Have a good one. You notice what I didn't do? I didn't start out with that cheesy stuff. Like, oh, I really enjoy this process. And I really, oh, Molly, you put out such amazing content. No, act like you're talking to a peer. Like for me, you lead with like, look, I'm just one dude talking to another man or woman. We're talking. You're not up here and, oh my God, oh, you're so smart and great. Like, stop doing that stuff. Half the reason that you're not setting calls on emails and calls is you sound like a sycophant. You're like, oh, thank you so much. Stop thanking people. Stop, oh my God, you're the best. It's so great. Like, that's why you're not setting meetings. And so video to me, it's the same way. It's direct. It doesn't mean I don't have energy. It doesn't mean I'm not confident, but I'm also not, you're up here, I'm down here. So that's it. 30 seconds, 40 seconds flat, lead with your best stuff. And I've seen a good call to action being, let me know if it's okay if I send you some additional detail. And then you can even like send, one thing we're testing right now is in a double tap. You send the video and then you send a quick text right after it. So if someone doesn't have time, they see like those 2 or 3 lines. So yeah, that's my play for video. And then I'll take Scott's question and then we'll jump into some of the plays here. We're talking about process numbers, very little about strategy, cutting the call numbers in half, spending more time on strategy and targeting to evaluate results. Yeah, Scott, I think what we're saying is that we talked about this in the very beginning. Each person, you should have your own strategy. There's nothing that we're talking about where we're telling you to hit send all. And I've posted about this. I did a post about this. What was that? Monday night. It's got like almost 100,000 views now, where I actually don't like activity minimums period anymore. I like outcomes that, hey, look, as an SDR, all I need is 5 meaningful conversations a day. If that means you're going to go post on LinkedIn or you're going to do 80, I don't really care. I need you to make 20 calls and 20 emails a day. Other than that, however you get there, you get there. So Scott, I'm actually not a big fan of having these ridiculous activity minimums, because then a lot of the stuff Molly and I are talking about, I'm actually disincentivized at times to do those things because I can't track them without doing something manually. So that would be my take, is that, I really would like to see more companies focus on the outcome versus just the activity numbers. Absolutely. All right, Molly.
The plays.
Here we go. Jump into it.
I was just looking at the time too. Got to get to the plays. All right. First up is a play that we called Customer Obsessed. And this was the play that we, oh, I got another question. One of the plays that we worked on with one of our friends over at Lead IQ. But what this really is kind of thinking about is understanding your current customers from an SDR's perspective. You're thinking about the AEs, they're the people that are dealing more with the customer, dealing more with the actual selling process. And the SDRs can sometimes be left in the dark a little bit about what's actually going on with the current customers and who are the customers that they're even selling to. Understanding this knowledge can really help you from your outbounding perspective to really drill down and find like companies to the people that you're already working with. Oh, anything to add to that, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the plays that I think people can use a lot of is, okay, like let's say you work with, I'll pick like a big company, Home Depot. Okay, but you're trying to get into these other big box retailers or whatever, right? And here's like the exact play so y'all can see it, but think about all the different things that you can do here, right? Where, your contact from Home Depot, one of the plays I know that Lead IQ they'd run is they DM the contact and say, hey, why do you like working with us? Then they screenshot that and send that with a private DM to all like the people in the relevant industries. And I think the key is, look, as an SDR, you have all these logos. And if you don't know your current customers, how are you going to be relevant to me to build credibility? That was one thing, like whenever I ran my team, my frontline team at Career Builder, what I did for them is in our region, I created just, I think it was like a 40 line Excel with, here's a small company we work with in that vertical and a large company. So I think it's just such a good opportunity that a lot of you can use, is just leverage your current customers as a part of this. Leverage them.
Yep. And understanding them deeper so you can leverage that the next time you're talking to someone that might be a competitor of theirs or something. It's information that I think people kind of almost take for granted from an SDR perspective a little bit. So definitely check this one out if you're interested in, running that type of play and learning more about your current customers. This is my favorite one, Jake. This is the one that we started to talk about a little bit before already, of what we're creating and what we're looking at here. But this is the true way that LinkedIn is playing a huge role in what this play is really all about. So we're first going to be creating a list in Sales Navigator, very similar to what Jake was mentioning before. We're looking at targeted accounts. We're looking at people who have changed jobs in the last 60 days, people that have posted in the last 30 days, and people that follow your company. You're going to come to a very small list. Now, we're not saying this list is going to give you, here's, 3,000 records and 3,000 prospects to engage with. This is going to give you a very specific and targeted list to engage with. And this is how we're going to do it. So day one, we're creating those, that actual breakdown, those lists. Day two, you're drilling in to see who has recently engaged or has recently posted. You're then going to be moving into interacting with that post. And we've touched on that a little bit more too, but coming in with liking a comment or creating a message around a recent post. I mean, how often do people reach out to you, Jake, and mention something that you've posted or talked about on LinkedIn? And how is that a conversation starter for you guys?
Yeah, not nearly enough. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's like, it's all out there, but not nearly enough. And then the other, like you mentioned here, comments, one thing I want to call out here is go look at how many comments the average executive gets. Guess how many it is, guys? None. And guess who the comments are usually from? Their employees. I'm telling you, if you comment on an executive's post twice over a week and a half long period, I promise you that person's going to remember your name. I promise. Just imagine you were brave and you posted on LinkedIn. Whew, very proud of you. And nobody comments. And then all of a sudden, John Smith has 2 thoughtful comments. Hey, this is a really interesting webinar. Is there a transcription for this? Right? Hey, my favorite 2 points when I read this, John, were this and this. Appreciate the share. Then a week later, so someone asked this question. I think this is Rashab, about the DMs. He talked about sliding in the DMs, which I love. Then Rashab, I slide in the DMs. I build value, comment day 4, comment day 12, slide in DMs day 15. Man, hey, Rashab, your content's pulled up a couple of times. This piece in particular stood out based on XYZ. Here's what we're up to. It could make sense. Let me know if it's okay if I at least send you some details and we can go from there. Thanks. Right? So that's it. Is that I think that's it. Is too many people, you guys go straight to the DMs. You connect, I just saw your post about this. And then how you connect the dots to what you do is so irrelevant. It's like, well, I saw you posted this, but anyway, let's talk about something that's completely unrelated. And I'm like, ugh.
Or when people go for the ask in the connection request, it's like, oh my God, we're not even connected yet. It's, you got to build
thirsty,
up.
Molly. We have a word for that. It's called thirsty.
Yeah. But this is the step-by-step, day-by-day, how you build that up and how you build that value when you're ready to actually engage with the prospect in a meaningful way, And
what's so key, guys, I want you to think about this play right here. I know for a lot of you, look, this is how I was raised in sales, right? I was raised in sales that you were supposed to always be ask for the meeting. But how long does it take you on usually in your sequence now to get a meeting? Week 2, week 3? There's no difference. It's the same amount of time.
Exactly.
What we're talking about doing is just building a little bit of relationship capital before you go in for it, right?
Yep.
That's all we're talking about doing here, right? And
Yeah.
so, you know, Amanda's comment here, best way to engage with a CEO who likes, shares your post. I mean, Amanda, if someone liked and shared your post, again, I would probably come back, if this is me, Amanda, I'd probably come back with a video, or a LinkedIn voicemail. I don't know if you all know this, or real quick, I'm just going to show it. If you guys don't know, if you're a first degree connection, so first thing I do is first degree connect with them, obviously. But then if you go to your messages and I go to here, you'll see that there's a little microphone here. So Amanda, CEO, likes my post, then I might just go, awesome, man, appreciate it, Chris. Thanks, man. Or something. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but boom, I just dropped a voicemail right to this guy, Chris Snyder. Great talk today. I think Chris is actually probably listening live. So Chris, you just got a voicemail from me. But that's what I would probably do. Or you can actually, if you click on the plus button, you could do a video. So Amanda, CEO, likes and engages with my post. Boom, I flip the camera around. Hey, John. But again, don't act desperate. Act confident. He or she liked your post. And so it's like, hey, John, appreciated the share. Actually, I went and looked at and then bring in something relevant. That is not on its own enough for me as a CEO to want to meet with you. Now show me you did some research. Boom, you got the meeting. Easy.
Yep. What is your thoughts on messaging in the connection request? That's a big question.
No message in the connection request unless it's like your super, super high value targets. Again, let's just do the math here, my friends. I can connect with 82 people in 12 minutes with no message, okay? Or if I do custom messages, it takes me, 2 minutes, 3 minutes for each one. I can connect with 4 people in 12 minutes. 4 or 82. Who do you think is going to have a bigger network of relevant buyers in a month? Right? Then guess what? Maybe if it's a really high profile contact, someone I want to make sure, maybe then I would do something, but it's got to be hyper customized. Molly, to your point, if someone sends me, hey, Jake, your point on SDRs really resonated with me. I've seen 2 posts you've done, and I think it's really great. I think, I appreciated it. That's an accept. Jake, I think that there's synergies between our business or whatever. That's an automatic ignore. So just if you're going to be specific, be hyper specific or don't send anything.
Yep. Boom. On to the next play, just because we're coming up on time. All of these plays, the first step, it's truly important about how we're creating the lists of what we're creating for our audience and our total addressable market. This one here is another almost like a no-brainer, like you got to be getting these types of meetings. This type of list that we're going to be creating is showing that whatever you're selling, that prospect that you're reaching out to was a previous customer of yours. They're no longer at the company that they were working at when they were doing business with you, but now they're probably in a similar role. And when I don't know what the stat is off the top of my head, but in the first 30 to 60 days of someone's new position, they are going to be making decisions on technology purchases, 100%. And it is all about the timing here. Timing is everything. And this is how you're setting yourself up for future success when it comes to that type of time frame. So the play, very similar to the previous one, but the difference here is what we're looking at in our list, because we're seeing that this person is going to be familiar with your business, and the type of messaging that is going to come along with that, of course, is going to be even more personalized. Always recommend doing your research, checking in with the account executive that sold them at their previous account, check in with the customer success manager that's managing their account, and understand how they were using it at their previous company. And most of the time it can be applied to the new company that they're at. So it's literally a small little checkbox. It can make such a big difference in your Sales Navigator list building. Amazing. Next up is video. So we've talked about video being an important channel. And what I always find when it comes to videos, people are almost as nervous about creating videos as they are doing cold calls. And people have a hard time thinking about how much time they're spending in creating videos. And it really, at the end of the day, should not take you 25 minutes to create one video for a prospect. Think about the messaging that you're trying to come across within your emails. That messaging, if you're speaking it and saying it, or thinking back to wanting to use video to show actual examples of your technology, that's going to cut through all of the other text-based emails that that prospect is receiving. And this is going to make a huge difference. You're going to definitely stand out of the crowd if you're utilizing a video, and a personalized video at that. This play here, we're calling out 2 videos throughout the sequence. The thing to think about here is your first video is going to be hyper personalized for that individual. Your second video is something that's more persona based, something that you've already got queued up, created, so you're not spending more time on, creating another video. That one's already pre-canned, ready to go. So think about that in 2 ways: a personalized video and a persona-based one. Having those ready to go can make a huge, huge impact in your outreach.
That's right. And I think you can crank videos, especially the persona one. Because again, if I'm reaching out to SMBs and the director of operations of SMBs at consumer packaged goods, and I batch those together, the challenges are super similar. So just think of it like that you don't, the customization can be just showing how much you know about their world.
This last play here is one that, again, when walking through the implementation process with now over 100 plus companies, this is another thing that is such a small idea, but something that can make a mile of difference. So when we think about all of these plays that we run, right, all of our outbound plays, the question I always like to ask: what's the next step after the prospect doesn't respond to that outbound messaging? A lot of the times there's no place for that prospect to go. That prospect goes into the abyss. So having a nurture sequence created in your sales engagement platform. Now, I'm not saying turn off your nurture in your marketing automation, but this is creating a version of your nurture sequence within Outreach or whatever sales engagement platform that you're working. Because the difference here is we're really going to bring in that true brand awareness, because all of those previous touches are coming from the same voice that those, last 15 touches just came from. So we've actually been finding a higher response rate with nurture sequences within a sales engagement platform. And I'm realizing this play is the video one again, so we'll have to update our slide deck here. But the thought is creating a automated email, 1 email a month for 3 to 4 months, just having a place for a prospect to go to. And that's it. It's simple, it's easy, and it's a great way to just, again, force that response. Get that yes, get that no.
That's right. Just go back to the nurture, the slide. Yeah. So the key here is all of you, it goes back to what I said in the very beginning. You're playing the short, the middle, and the long game. All right. You're not just playing the right now game. And so again, Molly doesn't respond or whatever happens. There's a company, who was it? Terminus. There was this kid, he had a 35 touch point play over the course of 9 months. It was something like that. And he called it, I think it was called the Gucci play, because it worked that well. Right. And like this kid, and then they all did it, so I feel like the nurture play is something that all of you don't rely on your marketing department to go create some boring ass nurture sequence. Go do it yourself. Right. Go put a note, again, or snooze your email. If you don't have a sales engagement platform, snooze your email, send something to Molly. I snooze it for 3 weeks from now, send her the next email, snooze it for 3 weeks. Even if you don't have a platform, there's a lot of ways that you can utilize it. So that's it. Those are the plays. Do we have like a summary slide, or is that just in the very beginning, or what do we got? What do we got after this one? We'll update this one too.
After that, we have
the full playbook.
A link, the full playbook. A lot of people were asking about where can I find this content. So we have a full ebook created with this, all of these plays broken down. So you can download the ebook there. Can you give us some examples of videos and plays in the ebook? There is some more granular video dive in and some examples from our friends over at Vidyard. If you're not using Vidyard, do it. Just try it. It doesn't hurt to just try, and I promise you, you'll
Bomb
see.
Bomb's the other one, right? Bomb Bomb's
Yep.
the other
Yep.
one people are using.
Yep, exactly. So amazing. This was so fun.
I love it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lloyd.
Hey, thanks. That was fantastic.
I need some traction.